My friends at Easy Cater are workplace catering pros, helping you find food for everything from daily employee meals to staff meetings and special events. Visit easycater.com/leaderassistant to find out more.
Hi, I'm Julia Hawkins, and today's leadership quote comes from Simon Sinek. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
Thank you so much for listening all around the world. Hi, it's episode 52. And here's your host, my dada.
Hey, Leader Assistants. Thanks for tuning in to episode 52 of the Leader Assistant podcast. I am excited to tell you today about Cabinet. On Cabinet, you can join an incredible network of assistants for free or upgrade and use the world's first digital to-do list designed for assistants. It's complete with a way to track your accomplishments for performance review season. So yes, Cabinet can probably help you get that raise. Go to joincabinet.com and use the code LEADERASSISTANT for 50% off to check out the online to-do platform. Or again, you can join their online forum for free at joincabinet.com. Today's episode is special because I get to speak with Julia Hawkins, who's the CEO and co-founder of Cabinet. So again, check out joincabinet.com. Use the promo code LEADERASSISTANT for 50% off their new to-do list digital tool. And yeah, you can check out the show notes and a screenshot of Cabinet at leaderassistant.com/52. That's leaderassistant.com/52. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Leader Assistant podcast. It's your host, Jeremy Burrows, and today I'm speaking with Julia Hawkins. Julia is the co-founder and CEO of Cabinet. Julia, how's it going?
It's going really well, Jeremy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, what part of the world are you in?
We are in New York City.
Awesome. So what was your very first job? Let's start there and just kind of share what skills you learned in that role, if any, that you still use today.
Great. Yeah. So I worked at a restaurant as a cashier, and I used to run plates out to customers.
Nice.
I learned, yes, great staple job. I learned that having a great attitude is an actual skill, and it made life better for not just the customers, but it made me really enjoy work, just having a positive outlook.
Awesome. So when did you become an executive assistant?
Great question. So I was around 24 years old. I was working for a venture capital firm, and I joined as a marketing associate. And while I was there, the company went through a lot of changes. I had worked right next to a executive assistant who I admired so much. She was very sharp, and she was that kind of assistant who is a mirror image of her executive, could think like him, could make any decision on his behalf, and she would make the right decision. So I had a lot of respect and admiration for her. And so I was pretty devastated one day when she told me that she was leaving the company. It was for a personal reason. She'd been there for 10 years, and she wanted to work closer to home. And, she looked me in the eyes and she said, if you would like to take over my role, you can do everything I can do. And, she had been an EA, a lifetime EA. So that really meant a lot. And it motivated me. So when, the company asked if I would take over her responsibilities, I said yes. And I took about, 95% of them, I'd say. And I slowly, gradually became an EA. So for the next few years, I was an EA, as well as wearing a few other hats.
Awesome. So what did you enjoy about the role?
I enjoyed helping people. I think that's in my DNA. I like to put the spotlight on other people, and it was great to see them succeed. And, I liked working too, like building the relationships with the partners. You can learn a lot from leaders, just watching them, observing them, see how they act. So I liked that, being, very close with those folks.
Nice. So do you have any productivity tips or maybe task management tips from your time as an assistant?
Yes. So, I learned this recently with Cabinet, but I wish I had done it back in the day when I was an EA. So it's to tie your tasks or your daily workload to goals or company KPIs, because I would get asked, as all assistants get asked, to do a performance review and show how you've grown in the role and describe what value you think you added in the year, sometimes for a bonus. And that was really hard because I wasn't trained on how to tie all the meetings and all the events and all the trips I'm booking to the goals of the executives. And I wasn't very explicit in understanding what those goals were of my executives. I came to understand them, but I didn't ask them explicitly, hey, what are your top 3 goals right now? Or what are your biggest priorities? So I wish I had kind of created that loop. And I think that would have been helpful for me and for also my managers.
Yeah, it's something that I can relate to. When I was in my first EA role, kind of didn't really consider that. I just kind of did what was thrown my way, and if something wasn't being thrown my way, I just kind of leave it alone. And so yeah, it's definitely a game-changing mindset to really tie your job to the overall company and your executives' goals.
Yeah, exactly. And to tie it back to the quote, the Simon Sinek quote, it's true for a lot of people, that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And, tying what you do to your goals, helps you explain to folks, why you're doing things, and that helps them build trust in what you're doing.
So when you were an EA, did you do any sort of professional development or training or classes or conferences to grow your skills? And how would you encourage assistants now to develop and hone new skills?
Wow. I never knew that world existed. So until I went to grad school, got an MBA, and started Cabinet, I did not know that world existed. And, I would encourage people to do research and explore how many things are out there now. It's wonderful.
So you said you got your MBA?
I did, yeah. So I left the firm to get an MBA, to hone in on my business chops. And it was getting my MBA where I met my co-founder, who is an engineer, and was getting a master's in connective media.
Nice. So I like to say that being an executive assistant for a few years is oftentimes better than getting an MBA. Now that you've done both, what would you say?
I definitely agree with that. I had a very specific MBA, so it's a technical MBA. So we took I had to take computer science courses, and so that definitely prepared me better for that, this part of my job, building this technology with my co-founder and with my team. So, but I would agree. Yeah. Being an EA is the best MBA you can get.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your company then. So why did you start Cabinet?
Yeah, awesome. So we wanted to build a platform that empowered assistants. And we wanted to build something that was very unique for them, because when I was an EA, I didn't feel like there was much technology out there designed for me specifically. There's a lot of tools that we tweak to fit our needs, like OneNote and Trello. But I knew the capability existed, something more powerful than that. And so, it's funny, we knew as well that a community was super important. Like I felt very isolated in my job. And so one of the features was, we want to be able to connect assistants across companies to be able to exchange best practices or, business travel recommendations and so forth. But that feature actually turned into something much bigger. It kind of took off. So for the last year and a half, we've been running a community of executive assistants, very forward-thinking executive assistants. And we were about almost 2,000 now, all grown through word of mouth and personal invitations and member referrals. So we're really happy about that. But we're still on our mission to build a platform that is a little bit more technically capable. So we just launched a new platform called Cabinet Plus. And so now we are really excited about this next phase of Cabinet.
Awesome. So let's talk about the community element first. What sets apart Cabinet from, say, a Facebook group or a Slack community or another online forum for assistance?
Great question. So we built Cabinet entirely from the ground up. So this is not, a Facebook group or a Slack channel, or this is, a community where every aspect of it was designed intentionally for assistance. So some of the big differences is that Cabinet is very more professional, I'd say, whereas a lot of Facebook groups are more informal and casual, and the algorithms with Facebook and LinkedIn make it such that sometimes, the longer the post and the more dramatic the situation will grab the attention, where, if a person comes to one of those groups and needs to ask, a very business forward question, like, hey, I'm booking my boss a fishing trip to Mongolia. Does anyone have any recommendations? That won't be seen because of those algorithms. So we wanted to make a very fair community, but that doesn't mean our questions aren't also fun sometimes. And some people do come with needing to explain some experiences that they're having, but it's we also put a word limit on it, so people can't go very verbose and be very loquacious. It's people are concise. So one attribute too I love is that we will match a question with experts. So when you sign up for the community, you can say, oh, here are my areas of expertise. Like maybe I'm a OneNote specialist. Maybe I'm really great at event planning. And then you'll say, where you live or where you work, Atlanta, New York. And when a question is asked that has any of those key words in it, we will send an email to that group of people who specializes in that area or maybe lives in that area. So we get questions all the time about, event recommendations for venues, business travel, hotels or restaurants, technology that people are struggling with to understand or do something with. And so it's great to see that, people get answers to their questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the community element is pretty powerful. What in general do you think is the key to assistance taking advantage of communities like this?
Yeah, so I just think we're all stronger together, sort of the wisdom of the crowds theory, and people need to realize that they're not alone in what they're doing, and where the world is very virtual now, and we're building a place like Cabinet where it's trusted executive assistants. You can turn to them, and it's not shameful. It's actually very professional. Evan, who is my co-founder, he's an engineer, and he introduced me to a site that millions and millions of engineers use for the exact same purpose, which is called Stack Overflow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure many people are familiar with it. So it's what every engineer does whenever they hit a wall. They go to Stack Overflow. They either search, if someone's already asked their question, or they create a new question. And it's pretty amazing how people are willing to help.
So over the last several years, what transformation have you seen happen in the administrative professional landscape? So
there is a movement happening. And I've seen it at conferences. I see it in your podcast, Jeremy. I read about it online. This movement from an admin that just gets stuff done to an admin who is a strategic business partner to their executive. It's happening, and all the coaches and trainers and thought leaders in the space are teaching admins on the ground level how to be a strategic business partner. And so we have, there's a lot of moving pieces in that. And so some of the things, people ask on Cabinet, like how do we do performance reviews is a great example. Watching people say, oh, you need to start tying your tasks to the goals of the company because everyone now is data driven, and we need to be too in our role. So that's been fascinating to see kind of the field evolve, from the ground up.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to say, why would I need to sign up for just another assistant community? Why Cabinet versus a Facebook group or LinkedIn? You said a little bit about that, but then also, you talked about your Cabinet Plus. Is that right? Cabinet Plus?
Yeah, exactly.
So you talked about Cabinet Plus and having task management. How can assistants listening go to their executive and say, I know our company pays for Trello, or I know our company pays for OneNote, but the value that Cabinet brings to administrative professionals like myself, far and above outweighs the value that I get out of a Trello or another Facebook group, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, it's always about explaining to your executive or your manager how will this benefit the company? How does this improve, your executive's life? And, we try really hard to focus on the benefits that Cabinet and Cabinet Plus provide to the executive, which, is, we believe at a high level, it's helping assistants master the art of strategically lightening the load of their executives. Because at a very high level, like, what is an assistant? An assistant is there to, create time for others. So, that's one view of it. But, and so what we try to do really hard is tie everything to how is this going to help the executive. So for Cabinet Plus, we build a place where you can store your executive's profile. So if you ever go on vacation, you have an assistant there that is covering for you, that knows the loyalty numbers, their favorite restaurants, what type of day they prefer meetings, what is their communication style. So we help capture that information, and we enable secure sharing. So coverage is really important in this space now. Because, assistants are offering a service, and you don't want that service to end just while, you step out of the office, as well as showing how all the tasks that you do. So one of the core features of Cabinet Plus is a to-do list. And, we enable you to input all the goals of your executive. And at the end of a month or a quarter, you go back, you reflect on your to-do list and all the things you got done, and you tie those things that you got done to the simple goals of your executives. And then at the end of the month or the quarter or the year, you can run a report that shows how all of those things you worked on contributed to the effort of your executive. And that's really powerful, because that is what, your executive needs to see in order to explain, everyone wants an assistant, right? So yeah. They need to show to the CFO or whoever runs the budget that, your work is really contributing to the bottom line of the business. So I think that's a long answer.
No, that's great. I think that, to summarize, it sounds like you are equipping and empowering assistants with real data that they can then submit to and run reports, like you said, and share reports of real data of the impact that their job is having with their executives, who, by the way, are more often than not very data driven. So
exactly.
Great.
Exactly. Everyone wants to see the numbers now.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're providing those. It sounds like it's a fairly simple, streamlined way to do that too. So it's awesome.
Thank you. And we really can't take the credit, though. I mean, this is what I'm talking about with the movement. We work with a lot of the coaches. We've been collaborating with, Lucy and Bonnie Lowe-Kramen and Jillian and Melissa and all these people who are. That's what they do is they train assistants to think like this and to work like this. So we know technology, and so we're just trying to bring that technology. Make that streamline, exactly like you said, streamline that process.
Awesome. So why the name Cabinet?
So our logo is actually a physical cabinet. If you've seen it, like the cabinet in your office where you store things, but that's actually only half the reason. So the other half of the reason is, a cabinet is also a term used to describe a group of people who you consider to be your trusted advisors. And so we consider assistants to be advisors to those that they support.
Love it.
Thank you. Naming is hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had. I could do a whole episode on naming. We had to change our name, I think, 3 times in 3.5 years. So.
Oh, nice.
It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what have you learned? What's the biggest thing you've learned running your own company and having to shift and evolve and really meet the demand that's there in the administrative community?
Yeah, I think we've learned how important community is. We thought we were building a small feature in this bigger product with the community, and it just really took off. And so, we've seen that even as we're transitioning into Cabinet Plus and becoming more of a SaaS workflow platform, the community is going to play a big role in that. And it's amazing to see how people support each other without having any financial incentive. It's, just incredible. Like I mentioned that Mongolia question, that actually happened. So one of our earliest questions, when we only had about 200 people in the community, somebody posted, "Hi, I'm looking for some advice. I'm booking my executive to Mongolia for a fishing trip, and he wants me to plan everything. Has anyone ever done this?" And Evan and I look at each other and we were like, oh no, like this is so niche. Like, and who's going to have the time to just provide all this information this whole trip? And within an hour, I think somebody had gone on, and sure enough, they booked their executive to Mongolia recently and, had all these, interesting, fascinating things to share. And so we were moved, and it's just been like that ever since. There's no question that's too niche for an executive assistant to solve.
EAs are like the army, if you will, in the world that has to deal with all those random, oddball, crazy requests. So it's definitely a powerful community.
Yes, good community to know.
Yeah. So what makes an assistant a leader? That's
a great question. So, a lot of things, but I would say something that makes them really unique, their leadership unique, is their work across groups and across organizations. So, supporting an executive, but really working across all the dimensions of the business. And, you can find them in every field and every corner of the world.
Awesome. Well, Julia, very, very exciting to hear about your story with Cabinet. And I'm very thrilled that there are actually software companies, still not very many, but there are some software companies now for assistants, and there wasn't any for such a long time. And I think that it just shows that people like yourself who have been an assistant before are kind of sick of having to deal with tools and platforms that are meant for other titles and other roles in companies. And instead of kind of complaining about it or sitting on your hands, you said, you know what, I'm going to go get an MBA and I'm going to start my own. So I really appreciate you taking a risk like that and sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Jeremy, and same to you. I'm so impressed with what you've built here. It's an honor to be on your podcast. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, where can we find Cabinet and support what you're up to and find out more about it?
Yes, please do. Go to joincabinet.com. So sign up. You can sign up for the community for free. And if you're interested in Cabinet Plus, you can use the code Leader Assistant for 50% off.
Awesome. Well, I will share those links and the promo code Leader Assistant in the show notes so people can kind of quickly get there. And then, yeah, thanks again for your time, and really look forward to seeing where you guys take Cabinet and how you're able to help the assistant community.
Thanks, Jeremy. And I look forward to some Cabinet Leader Assistant podcast collaborations.
Yeah, sounds great. We'll talk soon. Thanks again, Julia from Cabinet. It's a great episode. Definitely check out their online platform, joincabinet.com. And don't forget to use the promo code Leader Assistant to get 50% off their new to-do list software for assistants. Again, you can join the online forum for free at joincabinet.com. And if you want to sign up for the to-do list for Cabinet Pro, just use the promo code Leader Assistant for 50% off.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com